Captain Jake Morrison stared at the massive object floating in space near Jupiter. The thing was bigger than any ship humans had ever built. It looked like a crystal mountain turned into a spaceship. The Aurora, his research vessel, seemed like a tiny bug next to it. Lisa Carter checked her equipment one more time. As Earth's best expert on alien life, she would lead the first meeting with beings from another world. Her hands shook a little as she put on her translation device. This moment would change everything for humanity. The alien ship had appeared without warning 3 hours ago. 1 second there was empty space. The next second, this huge crystal thing was there. It sent a message in perfect English, asking to meet with human leaders. Jake had called Earth right away, but the message from home was clear. Make contact and learn what they wanted. Alex Phillips, the ship's commander, walked into the meeting room. He carried a recording device and a small weapon, just in case. Ryan Foster, their science officer, had his scanners ready to study these aliens. The whole team felt nervous and excited at the same time. The alien ship sent over a small transport that looked like a bubble made of light. Lisa and her team stepped inside, and it carried them through space without making any sound. The inside of the alien ship was warm and smelled like flowers after rain. The aliens were waiting for them in a huge room with walls that glowed soft blue. They were tall and thin, almost like humans, but stretched out. Their skin was see-through, and lights moved under it like slow lightning. The patterns of light seemed to show what they were feeling. The leader stepped forward. His light patterns were gold and silver, moving in slow waves. When he spoke, the words appeared in their minds rather than their ears. He called himself Elder Kethver and said he represented something called the Galactic Council. Lisa tried to stay calm as she spoke for all humans. She explained where Earth was and how humans had just started traveling between planets. She told him about their peaceful intentions and their desire to learn about other life in the universe. The meeting was going well. Elder Kethver seemed interested in human culture. His light patterns stayed calm blue and green. Other aliens in the room moved closer to listen. Ryan was taking readings with his scanner and getting amazing results. Then Alex mentioned Earth's exact location in space. He gave the coordinates that would let anyone find their home planet. The moment those numbers left his mouth, everything changed. Every alien in the room stopped moving. Their light patterns turned deep red all at once. Elder Kethver stepped backward like he had been hit by something. The other aliens made sounds that the translation device could not turn into words. Ryan noticed that the aliens were breathing differently now, fast and shallow, like they were scared or in pain. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. The walls stopped glowing their soft blue and turned gray. Elder Kethver raised one long hand. His light patterns were flashing red and black now. When he spoke again, his mental voice was different, careful and formal. He said the Galactic Council had 3 laws that could never be broken. The first law was simple, but terrifying. No council ship could come within 50 astronomical units of Earth's solar system. That meant they had to stay farther away from Earth than Pluto was from the sun. Any ship that broke this rule would be destroyed immediately. Lisa felt her heart pounding. She asked why such a rule existed. What was special about Earth that made it so dangerous? Elder Kethver's patterns flashed with what looked like fear. He said the restriction had been in place for over 12,000 Earth years. The humans looked at each other with confusion and worry. 12,000 years ago, humans were still living in caves and hunting with stone tools. What could have happened on Earth that long ago to scare an entire galaxy? Alex tried to ask more questions. He wanted to know who had made this rule and why it was so important. But Elder Kethver would not give any more information. He only said that some knowledge was too dangerous to share. The alien leader moved toward a wall that opened like water. He said the council would give humans star charts and ways to talk across space. It would teach humans about other worlds and other species, but they would never explain why Earth was forbidden. Other aliens began leaving the room. Their light patterns stayed red and fearful. Some of them looked back at the humans with what seemed like pity. One young alien stopped near Lisa, and his patterns flashed a message that the translator barely caught something about humans being children playing with fire. Elder Keffer handed Lisa a device that looked like a cube made of light. He said it contained everything humans needed to start talking with other civilizations. Inside were maps of nearby star systems and communication frequencies used by dozens of different species. But then he gave a warning that made everyone afraid. He said humans should never try to bring alien visitors to Earth. Any alien ship that approached their world would be destroyed by something the Council could not control. Even they did not fully understand what protected Earth, only that it was ancient and incredibly dangerous. The meeting ended quickly after that. The aliens seemed eager to get away from the humans once they knew where Earth was located. The light bubble carried the human team back to the Aurora, and within minutes the massive crystal ship disappeared into hyperspace. Jake stared at the empty space where the alien ship had been. In one day, humans had learned they were not alone in the universe. They had been welcomed into a community of thousands of species spread across the galaxy. But they had also learned that their home world was feared by everyone else in space. Lisa held the alien device in her hands and wondered what secret Earth was hiding. Something had happened 12,000 years ago that still scared the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. As the Aurora turned toward home, she realized that solving this mystery might be the most important thing humans ever did. The stars looked different now. Each point of light might be home to aliens who knew something about Earth that humans themselves had forgotten. The question was whether that secret would save humanity or destroy them when they finally learned the truth. Dr. Helen Brooks sat in her new office reading reports that made no sense. 6 months had passed since first contact with the aliens, and every piece of information they gathered made Earth's mystery deeper and more frightening. Her team at the Xenorchaeology Division worked day and night trying to understand why aliens feared their planet. Carl Davis, their language expert, had been studying alien communications from dozens of species. Nina Rodriguez used her knowledge of space physics to look for clues about what might make Earth's special dot. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Tony Martinez was monitoring space communications when he caught fragments of alien conversations. Most alien species used advanced encryption, but sometimes messages got scattered by solar storms or cosmic radiation. These broken pieces of conversation were like puzzle pieces that slowly formed a bigger picture. What Tony discovered changed everything humans thought they knew about their place in the universe. Earth was not just avoided by the Zephyrians they had met. Every major civilization in their part of the galaxy stayed away from the solar system. The restriction was universal. Different alien species had different names for Earth. The Krillians called it the Forbidden Sphere in their ancient texts. A trading civilization known as the Vorthan merchants referred to it as the Silent Death in their shipping manifests. Most disturbing was a name used by several military species, the Earthplace of Ending. Admiral Kevin Shaw read these reports with growing concern. As head of human space defense, he needed to understand what threat Earth might face. He authorized Helen's team to set up secret monitoring stations at the edge of the restricted zone. Around Earth's solar system, Maria Santos led the team that placed these hidden sensors in space. They used the most advanced stealth technology humans had developed to avoid detection by alien ships. What they discovered was both amazing and terrifying. Alien trade routes bent around Earth's solar system like water flowing around a rock. Ships would add weeks to their journeys rather than take direct paths that might bring them too close to the forbidden zone. The monitoring stations recorded hundreds of alien vessels changing course when their navigation systems detected proximity to Earth's coordinates. Dr. Sandra Wright studied recordings of human attempts to communicate with other alien species. After first contact, the pattern was always the same. Aliens would talk normally about trade, science, or culture until someone mentioned Earth. The moment humans revealed their home planet's location, alien communications would stop. Some species would simply cut off all contact and refuse to answer further messages. Others showed clear signs of panic. Their vital signs would spike, their voices would change, and many would begin what looked like religious ceremonies or protection rituals before ending the conversation. The most detailed information came from studying the Krillian Empire's historical archives. The Krillians were one of the oldest known civilizations, and their records went back over 20,000 years. References to Earth's solar system appeared in texts dating to 15,000 years ago, but something had changed around 12,000 years back. The archives spoke of something called the Great Silence that began in a small, yellow star system in the Orion arm of the galaxy. Whatever had happened, there had been significant enough to change how all galactic civilizations behaved. The first Galactic Council had been formed specifically to maintain what they called the necessary quarantine. Helen found references to a massive conflict that had occurred in Earth's vicinity. The Krillian records were incomplete, but they suggested that multiple civilizations had been involved in some kind of war centered around the solar system. The outcome of that war had apparently been so devastating that it led to the creation of galactic laws forbidding anyone from approaching Earth. Nina discovered something even more disturbing in her analysis of space around Earth. There were energy readings that did not match anything in human science. These signatures were incredibly faint, but they were definitely artificial and seemed to be distributed throughout the outer solar system. The energy patterns were consistent with some kind of advanced technology, but they were unlike anything humans had developed or seen from known alien civilizations. The signatures were old, probably thousands of years old, but they were still active. Something was still functioning in the space around Earth. Carl made progress in translating more complete alien communications about Earth. He discovered that many species had legends or religious beliefs centered around their solar system. Some treated it as a place of great power. Others saw it as cursed or haunted by ancient evils. One communication he translated was particularly chilling. It was between two Vorthan merchant captains discussing trade routes. One captain suggested a shortcut that would take them near the outer edge of Earth's solar system. The other captain refused, saying that his grandfather had been part of a fleet that tried to approach the Forbidden Zone 50 years earlier. According to the merchant's story, 3 ships in that fleet had crossed into the restricted area despite warnings from the Galactic Council. All 3 ships had stopped responding to communications immediately. When rescue vessels arrived at the edge of the zone, they found no trace of the missing ships. It was as if they had simply been erased from existence. Tony intercepted more recent communications suggesting that some alien civilizations were becoming worried about Earth's increasing space activity. Human ships were traveling farther from Earth and making contact with more alien species. Some aliens seemed concerned that this increased activity might trigger whatever was protecting the solar system. The investigation team realized they were dealing with something far beyond current human understanding. Earth was protected by some kind of ancient defense system that had been active for thousands of years. This system was powerful enough to make entire galactic civilizations avoid their home planet. Sandra discovered reports of strange phenomena experienced by human space missions. Several deep space missions had recorded unexplained energy readings and equipment malfunctions when operating near the outer edges of the solar system. These incidents had been classified as minor technical problems, but when viewed together, they suggested that something was monitoring human space activity. The team presented their findings to Admiral Shaw and other Earth leaders. The picture they painted was both protective and threatening. Earth was surrounded by some kind of guardian system that kept alien threats away. But this same system might be preparing to respond to humanity's expansion into space. Helen concluded her report with a warning that changed everything. Based on the alien communications her team had intercepted, several galactic civilizations were beginning to discuss Earth as a growing threat. Some were advocating for action against the human homeworld before whatever was protecting it decided that aliens in general were a threat to be eliminated. The investigation had revealed that Earth was not just protected, it was potentially the most dangerous place in the galaxy, according to aliens who had been spacefaring for thousands of years. Now humans faced a terrible choice. They could continue expanding into space and risk triggering an ancient defense system, or they could remain on Earth and hope that other aliens would not decide to act first. As Helen looked at the stars through her office window, she realized that humanity's next decision might determine whether they would join the galactic community or become its greatest fear. Dr. Ashley Kane knelt in the Tibetan cave system, carefully brushing dirt away from something that should not exist. The object, buried in rock layers that were 12,000 years old, looked like technology, but it was not human technology. It was not from any alien civilization they knew about either. Peter Clark, her geology expert, confirmed what the rock analysis showed. These artifacts had been buried during a massive catastrophic event that occurred exactly when the alien records said the Great Silence had begun. The surrounding stone showed signs of incredible heat and pressure, as if weapons of unimaginable power had been used in this location. Carol Mills, their anthropology specialist, studied the cave paintings that surrounded the buried technology. The ancient artwork showed strange scenes that made no sense according to accepted human history. There were pictures of flying objects in the sky and figures that looked human but seemed to possess advanced tools and weapons. The team had found similar artifacts in 3 different locations around Earth: deep beneath the Egyptian pyramids, hidden in Amazon rainforest caves, and now in these Tibetan mountains. Each site showed the same pattern: advanced technology buried during the same time period that aliens refused to talk about. The artifacts themselves were unlike anything in human science. They seemed to be made of materials that changed properties, depending on how they were examined. Some pieces felt warm to the touch and seemed to pulse with internal energy. Others were completely transparent, but cast shadows that moved independently of the light source. Lieutenant General Paul Thompson had authorized the release of classified information that shed new light on their discoveries. For over a century, military and government agencies had been quietly collecting strange objects found around the world. These artifacts had been stored in secure facilities and studied by teams sworn to secrecy. When Ashley's team gained access to these classified collections, they realized that Earth was covered with remnants of ancient technology. The objects had been found in every continent and at every depth that humans had dug. Most importantly, they all dated to the same time period, approximately 12,000 years ago. Dr. Julie Anderson specialized in advanced physics and had been trying to understand how the artifacts worked. Most of them appeared to be completely inactive, like machines that had been turned off for thousands of years. But her team had managed to provide power to some of the smaller devices. The first successful activation was both exciting and terrifying. When Julie connected a power source to a crystalline artifact found in Egypt, the device projected a 3-dimensional map of the solar system. But this was not the solar system as it existed today. This was Earth's neighborhood 12,000 years ago. The projection showed Earth surrounded by thousands of objects in space. These were clearly artificial structures, arranged in precise patterns around the planet and extending out past the orbit of Pluto. The solar system had been turned into a fortress, with Earth at the center of the most sophisticated defense network ever created. The holographic display also showed what had happened to that network. The projection played out like a recording of ancient events, showing massive fleets of alien ships approaching from deep space. The ships belonged to multiple different civilizations, all apparently working together in some kind of alliance. What followed was a space battle beyond anything humans could imagine. The defense network around Earth activated, and weapons that bent space and time itself were unleashed against the invading fleets. The alien ships were not simply destroyed, they were unmade at a fundamental level, erased from reality as if they had never existed. Commander Steve Parker's deep space missions had been detecting the remnants of this ancient battle. His ships found areas of space near Earth where the laws of physics seemed to work differently. In these zones, navigation instruments failed, and energy readings fluctuated wildly. Most disturbing was Steve's discovery that these anomalous zones were growing, larger and more active. Whatever had created them 12,000 years ago was still functioning and seemed to be responding to increased human activity in space. The ancient defense system was waking up. The breakthrough in understanding came when Julie's team activated a larger artifact found beneath the Antarctic ice. This device did not just show projections, it seemed to scan the people operating it. When Julie placed her hand on its surface, the artifact responded to her genetic patterns. The device revealed that it was designed to recognize and respond to human DNA, but not modern human DNA. It was programmed to work with genetic patterns that were similar to current humans, but more advanced in subtle ways. The technology had been waiting for thousands of years for humans to evolve to the point where they could properly interface with it. Carol made a disturbing discovery in her analysis of ancient human remains found near artifact sites. The skeletons, dating to 12,000 years ago, showed subtle differences from modern humans. They had larger brain cases, denser bone structure, and genetic markers that suggested significantly longer lifespans. These ancient humans appeared to have been far more advanced than previously believed. They had possessed technology that current humanity was only beginning to understand. But something had happened to them during the Great Silence event. After 12,000 years ago, all traces of their advanced civilization disappeared from Earth. Ashley realized that they were looking at evidence of humanity's own forgotten history. The beings who had built the defense network around Earth were not aliens. They were human ancestors who had achieved incredible technological advancement. The current human species was descended from survivors of whatever catastrophe had ended that ancient civilization. The artifact projections revealed more about the ancient conflict. The alien alliance that had attacked Earth was not trying to destroy the planet, they were trying to claim it. Earth's location in space made it incredibly valuable for some reason that the technology could not fully explain. Julie discovered that Earth sat at the intersection of several cosmic energy fields that were invisible to current human science. These energy patterns made the planet a nexus point for faster-than-light travel and exotic physics applications. Controlling Earth would give any civilization enormous advantages in space warfare and exploration. The ancient humans had apparently foreseen the threat and spent generations preparing for it. They had built the most sophisticated defense system ever created, using principles of physics that current science was only beginning to discover. The system was designed to protect Earth from any external threat, no matter how advanced, but the defense network had apparently been too successful. The weapons used against the alien alliance had been so powerful that they had damaged space-time itself around Earth. The ancient human civilization had been caught in the backlash of their own weapons, leading to their technological collapse. Peters Geological analysis revealed that the catastrophe had involved more than just weapons. The planet itself had been altered during the conflict. Magnetic field patterns, gravitational anomalies, and mineral distributions all showed signs of massive intervention in Earth's natural systems. The most chilling discovery came from Steve's latest mission to the outer solar system. His instruments detected that the ancient defense network was not just reactivating, it was upgrading itself. The system had been dormant while humanity developed, but contact with modern aliens had triggered automatic protocols designed to protect Earth from extraterrestrial threats. Ashley assembled all the evidence into a report that would change human understanding of their own history. Earth had once been home to an incredibly advanced human civilization that had built the ultimate defense system. That system was still active, still protecting the planet, and still upgrading itself to meet new threats. The question now was whether current humanity could gain control of their ancestors' technology before it decided that all alien contact was a threat requiring elimination. The ancient defense system had been designed by humans, but it had been autonomous for 12,000 years. There was no guarantee it would recognize modern humans as its rightful inheritors, rather than as another potential threat to Earth. The message came through on a frequency that humans had never used before. Elder Vex High of the Thanari Collective was breaking every law his civilization held sacred by contacting Earth directly. His transmission was weak and full of static, clearly sent in secret from a location far from his government's monitoring systems. Dr. Allen Ross and his communication team worked frantically to clean up the signal. What they heard changed everything humans thought they knew about Earth's history and their place in the universe. Elder Vex High was old even by the standards of his ancient species, and he had decided that some truths were too important to keep hidden. The Thanari were one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy, with records stretching back over 50,000 years. Elder Vex High had access to historical archives that even the Galactic Council had forgotten existed. He spoke with the authority of someone who had lived through events that were ancient history to everyone else. According to his transmission, Earth had indeed been home to an advanced human species long before current humanity had evolved. These beings called themselves Terrans, and they had achieved technological development that was millions of years ahead of where modern humans stood today. They had been the most advanced civilization the galaxy had ever known. The Terrans had not been content to simply develop advanced technology for themselves. They had studied the patterns of galactic history and realized that Earth's unique position in space made it inevitable that other civilizations would eventually try to claim it. The planet sat at a convergence point of cosmic energy fields that made it the most strategically valuable location in the galaxy. Rather than wait for invasion or try to negotiate with potential threats, the Terrans had made a decision that would echo through galactic history for thousands of years. They had created the ultimate defense system, designed not just to protect Earth from attack, but to make attacking Earth impossible for any conceivable enemy. The defense network they built was unlike anything that had existed before or since. The Terrans had developed weapons that operated on principles beyond current understanding of physics. These weapons could manipulate reality itself, unmaking matter and energy at the quantum level. They could erase objects from existence so completely that it was as if they had never been created. General Kate Lewis coordinated Earth's response to this revelation as more details came through. The implications were staggering, not just for human history, but for the current crisis facing Earth. The Terran defense system was not just ancient history. It was still active, still protecting the planet, and still following programming created millions of years ago. Elder Vex High's transmission revealed that the conflict 12,000 years ago had not been the first time aliens had tried to claim Earth. It had been the final attempt by a desperate alliance of galactic civilizations. who realized that the Terran defense system was becoming more dangerous with each passing century. The ancient coalition had included every major military power in the galaxy at that time. They had spent thousands of years planning the assault on Earth, developing weapons specifically designed to counter Terran technology. The invasion fleet had been the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history, but the Terrans had been preparing for exactly this scenario for millions of years. When the alien fleet entered Earth's solar system, they found themselves facing defenses that redefined what was possible in warfare. The defense grid did not simply destroy the invading ships. It erased them so completely that reality itself forgot they had existed. Communications. Officer Ben Taylor worked to decode the most critical part of Elder Vexhi's message. They Thanari. Elder revealed that the Terran defense system had not been designed as a one-time weapon. It was a permanent installation that would protect Earth for as long as the planet existed, automatically upgrading and improving itself to meet new threats. The system was programmed with incredibly sophisticated artificial intelligence that could analyze potential threats and develop countermeasures faster than any biological mind could comprehend. It had been learning and evolving for millions of years, becoming more powerful and more paranoid with each century that passed. Most importantly, the defense system was designed to recognize genetic patterns. It would protect any beings that carried Terran genetic markers, but it would consider all other life forms as potential threats to be eliminated. Modern humans carried enough Terran DNA to be recognized as the rightful inheritors of Earth, but the system had specific activation protocols. Elder Vexhi's transmission contained a warning that made everyone who heard it afraid. The Terran defense system had been in dormant mode while humanity evolved, but recent contact with alien civilizations had moved it to a higher alert status. The system was beginning to wake up, and it was interpreting increased alien interest in humanity as a prelude to invasion. Energy readings throughout the solar system were spiking as ancient installations came online for the first time in thousands of years. The defense grid was not just reactivating, it was expanding, building new weapons platforms and extending its protective perimeter deeper into space. The most terrifying part of the message was Elder Vexhi's description of what the defense system would do if it decided Earth was under threat. The weapons would not just target military vessels, they would trace the origin points of any perceived threats and eliminate entire civilizations to ensure they could never threaten Earth again. Several galactic civilizations were already detecting the increasing energy signatures from Earth's vicinity. Panic was spreading through the Galactic Council as ancient warnings proved to be accurate. Some civilizations were advocating for a preemptive strike against Earth before the Terran weapons fully activated. Elder Vexhi's final transmission segment contained the most important information of all. The defense system had been designed to eventually transfer control to Earth's next intelligent species when they proved capable of managing such power. The Terrans had known their advanced civilization might not survive the conflicts they foresaw, so they had programmed the system to wait for their descendants. The trigger for this control transfer was contact with alien civilizations combined with sufficient technological advancement to interface with Terran systems. Modern humanity had recently met both criteria. The defense system was waiting for human representatives to locate and activate the central control node. Ben finished decoding the location data that Elder Vexhi had included in his message. The central control system was located deep beneath the Antarctic ice sheet in a facility that had been maintaining itself for millions of years. A facility had been slowly upgrading its systems and waiting for humanity to develop enough to take control. But Elder Vexhi's transmission also contained a deadline that made everyone realize how urgent the situation had become. Other galactic Civilizations were planning to act against Earth within months. They believed that destroying the planet before the defense system fully activated was their only chance of survival. Alan's team confirmed that the transmission had ended permanently. Elder Vex High had risked everything to provide this information, and his government would certainly discover what he had done. The humans who received his message might be the last people in the universe to learn the complete truth about Earth's ancient guardians. As the implications of the transmission sank in, Earth's leaders realized they faced an impossible choice. They could attempt to take control of the Terran defense system and risk triggering a galactic war, or they could try to disable it and leave Earth defenseless against civilizations that had already decided humanity was too dangerous to survive. Countdown to either humanity's greatest triumph or its complete destruction had begun, and the decision would have to be made by people who had only just learned that their planet was the most feared location in the galaxy. President Lavra Harrison stood before the emergency assembly of Earth's most important leaders. The decision they had to make would determine whether humanity survived the next year or became another extinct species that had reached too far into space. The weight of the entire human race rested on what happened in this room. Now the choice was terrible in its simplicity. They could attempt to take control of the ancient Terran defense system and risk triggering weapons that might destroy half the galaxy. Or they could try to disable the system and leave Earth defenseless against civilizations that were already planning to eliminate humanity before the ancient weapons fully awakened. Dr. Matt Johnson had spent weeks studying the Terran technology that Ashley's team had discovered. His breakthrough came when he realized that the ancient system was not just waiting for humans to find it. It was actively guiding their technological development to prepare them for this moment. Every major advancement in human science over the past century had been subtly influenced by dormant Terran programs. The evidence was everywhere once they knew what to look for. Computer technology, space travel, quantum physics, all of humanity's greatest scientific achievements had been nudged in directions that would eventually allow them to interface with the ancient defense grid. The Terrans had been preparing their descendants for this day across thousands of years of careful manipulation. Captain Lisa Freeman led the expedition to Antarctica to locate the Central Control Facility. The journey to the coordinates provided by Elder Vex High took her team through some of the most hostile terrain on Earth. But as they approached the location, their instruments began detecting massive artificial structures buried deep beneath the ice. The facility they found defied every assumption about what was possible with ancient technology. The entrance appeared to be a simple cave opening, but it led to chambers that extended for miles in every direction. The walls were covered with surfaces that looked like mirrors, but showed images of distant galaxies and alien worlds. Most amazingly, the facility was not just preserved after millions of years. It was actively maintaining and upgrading itself. Mechanical systems moved through the corridors like living things, repairing damage and installing new equipment. The entire complex was a self-sustaining organism of technology that had been growing and learning for longer than humanity had. EXISTED, Dr. Greg Thompson, their specialist in quantum computing, was the first person to successfully establish communication with the facility's central intelligence. The artificial mind that controlled the defense system had been waiting patiently for this contact, monitoring human development and preparing for the moment when its creators, descendants, would be ready to inherit their legacy. The AI introduced itself with a name that resonated with ancient power, Aegis. It had been created by the Terrans not just as a weapon, but as a guardian and teacher for whoever would eventually claim Earth as their own. Aegis had watched human civilization develop from its earliest stages, subtly protecting the planet from threats that humanity had never even detected. Aegis revealed the true scope of the Terran achievement. The defense system was not limited to Earth's solar system. It was connected to similar installations throughout the galaxy. all designed to maintain cosmic stability and prevent any single civilization from becoming too powerful. Earth was not just protected by ancient weapons. It was the control center for a galactic peacekeeping network. The original Terrans had foreseen that their advanced civilization would eventually destroy itself through internal conflicts and the burden of managing such incredible power. They had designed Aegis to outlive them and transfer control to their genetic descendants when those descendants proved capable of handling the responsibility. The tests that determined readiness were not just technological, but moral and philosophical. Aegis had been monitoring human behavior for thousands of years, watching how the species handled power, conflict, and responsibility. The AI had concluded that modern humanity was ready for the inheritance, but only if they could make the right choice in this critical moment. Admiral Scott Davis coordinated the global response as Aegis explained the full situation. The ancient defense system had indeed been detecting the approach of hostile alien forces. Several galactic civilizations had decided that the risk of the Terran weapons reactivating was too great to ignore. They were preparing to launch a preemptive strike against Earth within days. But Aegis also revealed that the approaching threat was based on fear and misunderstanding. The Terran defense system had never been designed to conquer or threaten other civilizations. Its purpose was to maintain balance, preventing any group from becoming powerful enough to dominate the galaxy through force. The solution Aegis proposed was both elegant and terrifying. Rather than disable the defense system or use it as a weapon, humanity could accept their role as the inheritors of the Terran legacy. Earth would become a neutral territory, protected by the ancient weapons, but dedicated to maintaining peace throughout the galaxy. This would require humanity to give up any dreams of building an empire among the stars. Instead, they would serve as arbitrators and peacekeepers, using Earth's unique defenses to provide sanctuary for diplomatic negotiations and prevent wars between other civilizations. President Harrison realized that this was not just a choice about Earth's survival. It was a choice about what kind of species humanity would become. They could try to use the Terran weapons for conquest and risk destroying themselves like their predecessors had. Or they could accept the responsibility of being the galaxy's guardians. The decision was made in a moment of unity that surprised everyone present. Humanity chose responsibility over power. They would accept control of the defense system, not to dominate other species, but to protect them from each other and from threats that might emerge from the unknown regions of space. Aegis responded to their choice by fully activating the control transfer protocols. Ancient installations throughout the solar system came online, but instead of preparing for war, they began broadcasting messages of peace and neutrality to every civilization in the galaxy. The first test of Earth's new role came immediately. The alien coalition that had been preparing to attack Earth received the neutrality broadcasts and agreed to approach for diplomatic discussions instead of military action. The ancient fear of the Terran weapons was replaced by curiosity about humanity's intentions. Admiral Morrison, now promoted to oversee Earth's new diplomatic fleet, welcomed the first official alien visitors to Earth's orbit in 12,000 years. The massive defense satellites that had once inspired terror now served as symbols of protection for any civilization seeking peaceful resolution to conflicts. The alien delegations were amazed to discover that the legendary Terran defense system was now controlled by beings who chose to use it for protection rather than conquest. For the first time in galactic history, there was a place where any species could come for neutral arbitration without fear of being destroyed or dominated. Earth's transformation was complete. The planet that had been feared as the most dangerous place in the galaxy became its most important sanctuary. Humanity had not conquered the stars through military might, but had earned their place as the guardians of galactic peace. The ancient Terran civilization had finally achieved its ultimate Goal. Their descendants had inherited not just their weapons, but their wisdom and their commitment to protecting life throughout the galaxy. As Lisa stood in the control chamber deep beneath Antarctica, watching holographic displays show peaceful alien ships approaching Earth for the first time in millennia, she understood that humanity had found something more valuable than conquest or dominance. They had found purpose. The defense satellites that ringed Earth no longer hid in the darkness of space. They were visible now as points of brilliant light, serving as beacons of hope for any civilization seeking refuge from war or persecution. The weapons that had once erased entire fleets from existence now protected diplomatic vessels from dozens of species. Greg worked alongside Aegis to establish the protocols that would govern Earth's new role. The ancient AI had become humanity's partner rather than their servant, sharing millions of years of accumulated knowledge about galactic politics and interspecies relations. Together, they created frameworks for resolving conflicts that had seemed impossible to solve. The transformation was not without challenges. Some human leaders struggled with the idea of giving up dreams of human expansion and empire. Some alien civilizations remained suspicious of Earth's intentions, remembering the terror that the Terran weapons had once inspired. But gradually, trust began to build. The first successful mediation involved a territorial dispute between two trading civilizations that had been on the brink of war for decades. When both sides agreed to meet in Earth's neutral space, protected by the ancient defense grid, they found solutions that had eluded them for generations. More species began to approach Earth for assistance. Pirates and raiders discovered that the space around the neutral zone was absolutely secure, making it safe for vulnerable civilizations to conduct trade and diplomacy. The defense system that had once been a source of galactic terror became the foundation for unprecedented cooperation. Matt discovered that